Hello every fan, this is Rich Formal 4, and I'm going to show you a My Little Pony plush washing tutorial. Now this does not have to be just on a My Little Pony plush. For those that likes to, well, really wants to get their plush to be washed and cleaned up, so you can be able to snuggle and huggle and smell your favorite plush all day and all night long. So, right. As you can see here, I got everything on the kitchen counter. Sponge, brush. This one is supposed to turn on, but the battery's corroded, so yes. Clothing, Tide, soap. A hair dryer to dry out the surface, and a stack of towels. So that is pretty much all the stuff that you need. Make sure that it is next to a sink so you can be able to rinse out your sponge and keep working on your plush. Right, so let's get to it. Alrighty. Okay, so the first thing that you will do is grab a sponge, turn on the water. Make sure the sponge is nice and soaked, but make sure that the sponge is not perfectly, because you don't want it to get deep into the sponge, because if you get it too deep into the plush, then it'll take about longer for it to dry out and stuff like that. So usually you would just kind of pat the sponge, sometimes bring just a little bit of water, and just make sure that it is nice and wet. Okay, so once the entire plush is wet, oh, and by the way, this is the only portion that is wet. I'm not going to wash the entire plush, because that will be very boring for you all to watch. So, as you can see here, it's just this portion, so I can just simply show things off on how I clean my plush. Right, so next part is the clothing soap, the Tide soap, and put some of the soap on the brush. And if you want, bring it over to the camera, kind of put some water on it to help the soap work. Bring it back over and just scrub it. It doesn't have to be like 100% soapy, because if you get so much soap on it, then it'll take forever just to get the entire soap off the plush, and that's when it'll take forever on it. So once you get all the soap scrubbed onto the surface of the plush, put most of the stuff on the side. Grab your sponge, rinse it again. Bring the camera back over, and then just do this. Now, not all the soap is going to come off at once. You have to kind of work on one side and then work on the other side. And you can work on the thin side of the sponge to get some of the majority of the soap off. Now, you have to keep working on it every time, because when I'm squeezing the sponge, most of the soap will be coming out, so that means you're getting the soap, which that is what you want. And just keep doing this over and over until you keep bringing that sponge into the sink while trying to put some more water into it, and then keep working on it. And when there was less sponge, when there is less soap coming out of your sponge while wringing it out, that means that you got the majority off of it. Okay, so once you got all, well, not all, but the majority of the soap out, make sure to feel it just to make sure that you got some of the soap out. If it's too soapy, then that means that you didn't do a good enough job and you gotta keep working on it. Well, there is, like, I can still feel some soap on it, but that's okay. That's fine. Because that means that it's still doing its job. Now, once you got the majority of the soap off, it's time to get the towel and to dry it off. Now, you need more than one towel to actually work on the entire plush. It really depends on the size of the plush that you're working on. This plush right here is a Rainbow Dash 20-inch plush, and the only place you can get this one is at a Toys R Us. And it'll just take a little bit of a while. Okay, so right after you're done scrubbing it with the towel, you still need to dry it out. So I have the dryer right here. I'm going to turn it on to hot, and then I'm going to put this on low. Okay, so once you're done with that, the dryer is making that clicking noise. That means it's cooling off. Anyway, once this is dried off, and you should feel if you still got some wet spots. Now, when you're still drying it, you gotta still feel the same time, just to make sure that you got all angles and sides. Now, if this is still wet and damp, because this is not going to cover everything, I promise you that. So, this is when you have to have a second alternative. And this is when the big fan comes into play. Make sure that you put your plush at the right height along with the fan so the fan can do its job. So, one thing you have to do is set the fan on low and let the fan do its work. Now, it only takes about like half of the day when it comes to drying off the entire plush. But when it comes to drying off the hoof, and the time this video ends, then that's when I'm going to actually work on the entire plush itself. So that is the tutorial on how I wash my own plush. I hope you guys learned something. If you guys know more about cleaning a plush that I've missed, then let me know, and I'll try to refilm with a better detailing on how to clean a plush. Thanks for those that watched, and if you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Google+, like me on Facebook, and stay tuned for more My Little Pony videos.